there's something also to be said, though, about growing up in a Christian home. And I kind of want to talk about that for a minute because that's kind of where our conversation is going to lead eventually. As a parent now, it feels so different than anything I've ever experienced. And I always said, even before I was married, before I even met my wife, you don't understand God really until you become a parent. And I said that because I had heard it said. But now that I totally understand it. Looking at that, I feel the pressure of needing to raise a godly house because I'm not only affecting my salvation, I'm affecting the salvation of my wife and my kids. And where are they going to land on some of that stuff? And so we had a great life together, but a lot of that stemmed from what my parents established is we're going to have a Christian household. And it was easier because my dad was a minister and we were always at church. But beyond that, even before my dad became a minister, we were there at church, and my parents established us as a Christian. We're going to be a Christian household, and so there's value there. And I know, Zach, as a parent, you feel that same way.
Yeah, well, absolutely, I agree. And I guess we had kind of a different upbringing. I mean, of course, a different household. We're going to have a different upbringing, but my dad, he didn't go to church really as we were growing up. So it was my mom that brought me and my brother to church. But at the same time, my dad did have and still does have he has a respect for God and the values that come from the Bible. He tried to lead me on the path of right as he could. And so my mom did even more so, I feel like, in regards to living out the Christian values because, she stayed at home and she also, was the one that took us to church, made sure we were a Bible class, and she would ask questions, and engage in discussion at home, which I think is so important because, when we're talking about Christian homes and growing up and being a parent in a Christian home, you have to realize that if your children are going to be faithful in the Lord, there has to be more than just Sundays and Wednesdays. There's got to be more than just that time where, you're meeting for the assembly. And so she took that upon herself to talk about those things and to teach those things in the home as well. And so that's something that, one of the first words I tried to get Graham to understand and to say was Bible. And actually the other day I noticed on, how Facebook has the memories or whatever. There's a video of him, and he was one, and he was saying Bible. That was one of his first words, and that was intentional. Now you ask him who God is, and he'll talk about how he created everything, and he's Jesus, and he's 3 years old. So it takes a little bit more than just going to Bible class. To do that, you have to grow up in a Christian home.
Absolutely. And, that's what you said there. You alluded to it, that it's more than just Sundays and Wednesdays, that, there's this movement, especially now with the way that people are starting to come back to church from the coronavirus pandemic, that you come to church, get to church. And that's amazing, be at church. But what are you doing when you're not there? Because that is, and I preach this as a youth minister, that is such a minuscule part of your life that if you are failing at home and as a dad and as men out there, as your dads and your husbands, and sometimes it's on the wives too and on the mothers too, but as that person, as that spiritual leader, what are you doing? With my daughter, we'd have Bible study. And she's not even 3 yet, and we would sit there and get her beginner's Bible with the pictures, and we'd read it. And my favorite part of that was when she would repeat what I would say. So I would read a sentence, and she'd repeat the last 2 or 3 words, like somebody does when they're intentionally trying to listen. That was what she was doing, and so that's a big something like that. I mean, it's so simple, but it's so important, and that's the kind of house that I was so blessed to grow up in and so blessed that even when didn't go to church on Wednesdays, I remember my dad sitting us down and having a Bible study, and we were doing those things. And so, and I totally get not everybody has that. And like I said, we were blessed. Me and my brother and my sister, we were beyond blessed. And there's something to be said as now that I'm a parent that I want to make sure that my kid feels the same.